Hi, as introduced, my name's Alan Sharp-Paul, co-founder and co-CEO of ScriptRock. I'm going to talk a little bit today about the platform, and the marketing term for the talk is integrity in the age of DevOps. Okay, so a little bit of an intro, a little bit of information on the company and a bit on our history before I jump into it. So don't let the accent scare you. We are a US company, but we were founded in Australia. So my co-founder and I, basically about 15 years of experience in finance IT within Australia. I started out as a sysadmin and a developer, respectively, but then moved on, had the gamut of roles right the way through to architecture and even strategy roles. So throughout that time, we came to understand that there was kind of something fundamentally wrong with the way that companies were managing their infrastructure and applications. We felt that it was a lack of visibility, a lack of accountability, and ultimately, especially in this day and age, a lack of security that was causing them problems. That was essentially the inspiration for us building ScriptRock. Now, fast forward to today. So we're based here in Silicon Valley, down in Mountain View. We have blue chip investors, including August Capital, first money into Splunk, and Peter Thiel, first money into Facebook. And today, look, thousands of customers, including a whole bunch that you probably recognize. Okay, now, there's multiple challenges that you face as IT leaders today, both in management and technical leaders. Essentially, you're being asked to do more with less. You're being asked to go faster, and being fintech and not Facebook, you're hopefully not breaking things. And also, like with all the headlines we're seeing today, you're also asking to do this in a secure manner. Having said that, of course, as my co-founder likes to say, whereas death and taxes used to be the only certainties in life, really now it's death, taxes, and getting hacked. So what does this mean? It means that you're trying to manage multiple things. At a high level, though, you're trying to manage the integrity of your environments. You're trying to manage compliance. And most importantly, again, today, in the age we live in, you're trying to manage risk. To summarize this, or another way of putting this, is you're trying to go fast and stay safe. That's really what you're tasked with doing today. This is another way to look at it. Essentially, the journey that all of you are probably on, some of you further along than others. You're on this journey from a legacy, kind of more of a legacy company up into a modern company. And forgive the cliches, but you don't want to be an Eastman Kodak, you don't want to be a Blockbuster, you want to be a Netflix or an Amazon. To borrow from McKinsey a little bit, essentially you're going from your current state to a digitally resilient state, and you're doing that through this process of digital transformation. So how do we view digital transformation? Or how do we view, I guess, the attributes that are associated with it? Again, with a little bit of a DevOps flavor, you're looking to implement the cloud, move to the cloud to ensure flexibility. You're looking to implement automation to ensure the stability and the consistency of your infrastructure state. You're probably implementing or have implemented continuous integration or continuous delivery to ensure the consistency of your application side. And again, this is really shown at the end of the curve. This should really be right the way across the curve. You need to do all this in a very secure manner. Now, there are multiple inhibitors to this. There's inhibitors to digital transformation. Now, of course, there's a skills gap. It's very, very hard to find people with the correct skills. It's hard to train them, and it's also hard to retain them. Being fintech, not being startups, you guys care about audit. You care about compliance as well. These are things that are very, very necessary and can hold you back. And of course, constantly you're experiencing pressure from the business. So what do we at ScriptRock believe the foundations for digital resilience are? Number one, visibility. If you don't understand, you can't see the state of your infrastructure and applications, you're in no position to be able to digitally transform them. Accountability is also important. So it's one thing to say I understand everything I have. It's another thing to be able to say, is it good? Is it compliant? Is it secure? Is it following best practice? You want to look to automation. Now, critically, you don't want to move to automation before you understand and have accountability in your environments, but you do want to move towards automation, again, to ensure that consistency to enable that scale. And finally, I'll say it a lot. I'm sure everyone who's been up here tonight has been saying a lot, you need to be secure. One of the fundamental differences between the way we approach it and a lot of vendors approach it is we believe this is necessary from development right the way through to production. Again, everything's an endpoint, everything is at risk, but not only that, especially from a configuration state perspective, issues you find within development, they have a knack of finding their way into production. All right, with that extended preamble, what do we actually do? So what is our platform for digital resilience at ScriptRock? So first of all, we offer deep discovery. We offer deep discovery of your entire IT state. So not just servers, not just network devices, but databases as well, the cloud services you're using, websites you run, mobile, even Internet of Things. Because we're collecting all this information, ScriptRock can act as your system of record for your entire IT state. So not only are we tracking and can tell you what is my state like today, we can tell you how it's changed, what it was like last month, last year. Effectively almost version control for your infrastructure. Of course, we offer analytics and reporting on top of this. Amongst the things you can do is you can, again, track change. You can visualize change on devices or services. You can visually difference devices, and I'll show you that in a minute, or even visually difference groups of devices. Again, it's one thing to know how things look. It's another thing to be able to visualize that, but you also need to know, is it good? So we also offer an intelligent compliance engine, which essentially allows you to both use policies that we've defined and we've brought in, for example, standards like CIS standards, NIST standards, but also allows you to create your own policies based on the information in the state that we have gathered for you. Now, ScriptRock is not an automation platform. I want to make that clear. But as we are a platform that allows you to pull in your configuration state and through policy define what is good, we allow you to also take that and then export it. So you can export what you've discovered with ScriptRock. You can export it as a Puppet manifest, a chef recipe, even a Docker file. Again, I'll demo that in just a minute. So we're a modern platform. So of course, an open API, multiple integrations. Amongst them, you can sync up, change requests that are happening, being controlled with ServiceNow, incidents in ServiceNow, tickets in Jira. We can monitor your AWS instance, pull in servers from any other, cloud provider. As I said, export to Chef, export to Puppet, and also to log management tools such as Splunk. So what are the key use cases for using ScriptRock? Well, this one feels rather mundane, but it's one that can really bite you, and it's certainly a major pain point for most of the customers we're dealing with. So just configuration drift detection. What is actually happening underneath me? What's happening within my environment? Again, from a policy perspective, allowing you to apply and validate your systems based on best practice policies, security policies like CIS, NIST, and even functional policies that you've defined that ensure that your applications and your infrastructure state is sound. From a change management perspective, there's really two sides to this coin. There's change validation, so are we actually doing what we said we were going to do? That's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is detecting unauthorized change. So the flip side to that is what else is happening that we didn't plan to happen. And finally, from a security perspective, a more explicit security perspective, we also offer vulnerability detection. All right, so I'm a founder, not a marketing person, so I'm going to risk the live demo, so bear with me. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go through a very simple example, but that will basically allow you to see the visibility, accountability, automation piece, and also the security play. So what we're looking at here is one of our test accounts, this Bluth Company account for fans of Arrested Development. And what you can see here is a whole series of nodes. So hopefully one of the things that really stands out is, again, we control and we monitor anything. There are network devices here, there are Linux servers, there's ESXi hosts, websites, even databases. The sort of targeted demo I'm going to go through here, though, is that today I'm going to be a sysadmin responsible for a couple of MySQL servers. I'm having a problem with one of them. So I'm having a problem with this O1 machine. It's playing up, there's an issue. That's all the information I have. Thankfully, I have ScriptRock. I'm going to use that to basically drill into this. So what I'm going to do first of all is drill into the well-configured server. This is my O2 machine. And this is your first, basically, introduction to what we mean by visibility within the platform. So this is actually a visual representation of the state of this server. Sort of very high level, I can drill in here. I can see all the files. They're currently, files that are set up on this machine. I can drill into things like, the basic inventory on it, policies, users, ports. All well and good, kind of interesting, better than SSHing into the machine to try and figure out all this stuff, but obviously not helping me that much right now. I've got a problem with my O2 machine. Why is it having issues and this one's not? So the second part of the visibility piece within ScriptRock is you have the ability to visually difference devices. So I can visually difference this device back in time. How has this changed in the last week, month, year? But what I can also do, and what's more interesting in this case, is I can visually difference this device with that problem O1 machine. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to select that now. Run a compare. Okay, so now what you're looking at is a visual representation of the difference in state between these two devices. And why is this interesting? Well, it's interesting because one's fine, the other one's not fine. I'm hoping to find a clue as to what the problem is within this diff. A brief explanation on the color coding. So the blue section indicates something that only exists on our well-configured machine. The orange means it exists on both machines, and the gray indicates it only exists on our problem 01 machine. So I can tidy this up a bit by hiding everything except what's different. In the interest of time, I won't go through everything, but I will show you here. So I'm seeing things here like I have different package versions on these two machines. This one in particular might not be the problem, but this is obviously an issue. These are production machines. This is the type of drift I was talking about that can occur, and the ramifications for that are very hard to understand, or track down rather. I'll cut to the chase a little bit here and note that I'm going to go to the files section. And quite importantly, I can see there's a difference here between the configuration files between these two devices. So I don't think you really need to be an expert in MySQL to understand that a difference in the conf files of two clustered production servers is a little bit of a problem. So I'll drill into this now. I can see there's a difference in the checksum. What I really want to do is jump right into the configuration file. Again, I won't go into too much detail here. Suffice it to say there's a difference in the exec path. This is the problem. Now, I don't want to go in, like I said, don't want to go into technical detail, but what I want to illustrate there is we've gone from understanding nothing about these two machines to getting right the way down to a line-by-line file difference in the space of a few clicks. So that's really what we mean by the visibility piece. Pull out the state, allow you to visualize the state, allow you to difference it. Now, I'd be feeling pretty happy about myself for resolving that fairly quickly, but what should bother me is the fact that someone else had to tell me there was a problem with this machine. There's no accountability in this system yet. I want to add accountability by applying a policy to this now. So to do this, I'm going to go back to the O2 machine, which is our well-configured machine. I'm going to filter this now on my MySQL configuration. So you can see here, I have the config files, the packages, groups, ports. And within Guardrail, creating a policy, which sounds like a really painful thing to do, is actually as simple as right-clicking. If I can control my mouse. Excuse the typo. Put some numbers on the end so we don't double up. So it's as simple as right-clicking, hitting create a policy, essentially. So now what I've done here, as you see the little dancing boxes, I've now actually applied a policy to all that MySQL-related configuration. We created it from this machine, so of course everything is passing and green. If I load up my problem 01 server, what you might notice in the top left is we do have some failing policies in here. And I expand it out and filter on failed. Again, they're bringing my attention to these MySQL configuration files. So again, we started with visibility, started with being able to zero in on a problem very, very quickly. We've taken it to that next level now and allowed you to add accountability by creating policies. This is a policy I created. We can also import best practice policies, as I said before, security-related, vendor-related, whatever you might like. Now, again, I'll repeat, so ScriptRock is not an automation platform itself. I did allude to the fact that we can help you with your automation journey. Again, I filter on my MySQL here. This is good configuration. If I want to build another server based on this configuration, what I'm also able to do here is create an automation from this. So, for those of you that like Chef, I've now turned that into a Chef recipe. I can also turn it into a Puppet manifest. I could even turn it into a Docker file. So again, taking it from discovering the state, giving you that visibility, adding accountability to that state by letting you apply a policy, and then getting you prepared for automation by allowing you to flip that out into an automation. Now I'm going to switch to a Windows machine. Apologies to the Windows fans for the vulnerability stuff, because it's much easier finding vulnerabilities on them. So this is actually a Windows machine that we scanned within the platform. So again, we're discovering state. As part of our discovery now, we've layered on vulnerability detection as well. So I can quite simply, remove. Sorry, I think the zoom I've got is ruining my little Space Invaders. But essentially, what this is showing me now is various vulnerabilities that have been detected on here. I can drill into this. So now everything's in line. I can actually see within context where this vulnerability exists. I can see the details of this. We're pulling these from OVAL definitions. But again, that additional layer of security, and on top of the visibility, accountability, and ability to automate as well. Okay, so if we go back to our very first slide, so again, we're interested in integrity, compliance, and managing risk. So from an integrity perspective, ScriptRock's allowing you to detect change, visualize differences, and difference your devices to keep on top of the integrity. From a compliance perspective, we allow you to apply policies to ensure, functionally, but for best practice and for security, that everything is in order. And we allow you to manage risk, not only through the fact that you're managing your integrity and your compliance, but also the fact that we're actually tracking vulnerabilities for you as well. In effect, we're helping you go fast and stay safe. Now, when customers started using this, one of the pieces of feedback we were getting was that they're saying, this is all well and good, there's a lot of good information, but I really need you to simplify how we're doing from a health state perspective. So I'm going to give you a sneak preview of that right now. Essentially, if you think of a FICO score that assesses your credit rating, what we're doing now is a security risk grading based on this information we have. So based on the amount of drift that's occurring, based on the amount of your configuration state that you're managing with policies, and based on the number of vulnerabilities you have within your environment. So if I just jump back to the demo, and essentially gives you this view here. So this is actually a score indicating the health state of this system from a per environment basis. So for example, in my production environment, I can examine my score from a compliance perspective. So this is looking at the policies that are running, whether they're failing, how much policy coverage we have. From an integrity perspective, how many things are changing within my environment and how much of that change is unmanaged or unauthorized. And then from a risk perspective, how many vulnerabilities exist within my environment. All that's then rolling up into giving you a nice, simple score that you can report back to your CFO, your CRO, or your CEO to explain your health state. Of course, you can also track this. It's one thing to say, how am I looking now? But of course, we all want to improve. So by implementing ScriptRock, using this, you can actually make sure you're improving in all these areas as you go. Okay, so essentially with ScriptRock in place, you can helps reduce outages, helps speed up your release time, and most importantly in this day and age, it helps you mitigate risk. We're upstairs, hidden around the corner. You can find us next to the breakout rooms. Otherwise, check us out online at www.scriptrock.com. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we have a little extra time for some questions that we got from the audience. The first is, you called your product almost a version control for infrastructure. Is it possible to go back in time and replay the infrastructure from, example, a year ago?
It depends what you mean by replay. What you certainly can do is you can go back in time and see your exact state at that time. From a replay perspective, you could then convert the state of a year ago into an automation script, which would then build something that matched that. Again, ScriptRock itself will not change or modify your systems, but yes, absolutely, you can go back in time, see what it was like, and do exactly what you can do with today's state with last year's state, 2 years ago's state as well.
Okay, excellent. The next one is, so how secure is it actually?
Security is obviously very important. With our banking background, we kind of put that to the forefront. We do have a cloud offering. I will point out that you can also bring the entire thing behind your firewall as well. So if anyone's not comfortable having this information in the cloud, you can bring it behind your firewall. We also have a hybrid model. So this is all agentless. We can deploy agents if it's preferred. We prefer not to. So SSH on the NIC side and networking side, remote PowerShell on the Windows side. You can actually deploy connection managers behind your firewall that manage all that. So you can actually use that behind the firewall, potentially still even using the cloud offering. So multiple deployment methods which address the security concerns.
Okay. Another question is, how does this fit with the DevOps environments?
How does this fit with the DevOps environments? So essentially, it's built to help support that. So just like it's your foundation for digital resilience, it's essentially your foundation for DevOps as well. One thing, a lot of people move, and I kind of alluded to it during the speech, a lot of people look to automation first when they're getting started on their DevOps journey. We like to say, don't automate what you don't understand, that if you don't have those initial steps of visibility and accountability in place, your automation efforts are going to fall in a heap. And trust me, we know from personal experience that's what happens.
Okay, last one, and then you're off the hook. How is it deployed?
And I already answered that one. Okay. So yeah, it's deployed. So cloud, behind the firewall, hybrid. It's a virtual appliance. It's entirely Dockerized, running on Core OS, so extremely secure. It's push button. Even behind the firewall, it's push button updates. We actually stream updates down. Of course, you control them completely, but it really is a truly modern appliance what we can deploy.